In what may go down as the most brazenly and breathless, audacious attempt to strip Americans of their constitutionally guaranteed liberties, New Mexico Governor Michelle Dujan Grisham has issued an order suspending open and concealed carry of firearms in her state for a period of 30 days, a right that is guaranteed beyond the state of New Mexico and enshrined in the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. Hang on, folks. We're going to get into all this in just 1 second. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. While many of us were preparing for a weekend of fun, family, and football, the governor of New Mexico was issuing probably one of the most blatantly unconstitutional emergency orders in the history of the American Republic. An order that has been so widely criticized that it has awakened a sleeping giant of gun owners all across America. So let's take a look at some news articles, figure out what happened, see what kind of reaction she's getting, and try and determine where it's going to go from here. So we're going to start, as is our wont, with Breitbart. Headline: New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issues order suspending concealed carry for self defense. Article written by the inestimable A.W.R. Hawkins. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an order Friday suspending, for 30 days, state residents' right to carry guns for self defense in Albuquerque. The ban applies to concealed and open carry. Going a little further into the article, the Associated Press reported that the governor made the move in response to gun violence in the city of Albuquerque. TV station KOB4 noted that the ban on carrying guns begins September the 8th and runs for 30 days, after which the governor will make a decision about extending it. When questioned about her order's impact on the Second Amendment, the governor stressed her belief that no constitutional right is intended to be absolute. Wait. Come again with that? All right, let me go back over that and make sure I read that correctly. When questioned about her order's impact on the Second Amendment, the governor stressed her belief that no constitutional right is intended to be absolute. Holy cow. The order came after an 11-year-old boy was murdered in Albuquerque. Albuquerque Police Chief Harold Medina responded to the governor's order by making clear he will not enforce it. Benayello County Sheriff John Allen indicated he is concerned the order violates New Mexicans' constitutional rights. Legal challenges to the ban are expected. Okay, let's get into this. Now, it goes without saying, I don't want to see violence happen to any individual, no matter how old they are, no matter their sex, no matter anything else. Okay? That goes without saying. And yes, I understand that there is violence in America. And yes, I understand that on occasion there are individuals who will use a firearm to commit that violence. However, I don't care if you are a mayor or if you're a county commissioner or if you're a governor or if you're the president of the United States. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution takes precedence over your feelings or what you think ought to happen or what kind of emergency you've got. You do not have the right, now nor ever, to go suspending constitutionally guaranteed liberties under the guise of a public health emergency, which, by the way, is exactly what she's doing here. So, lest you think I'm overreacting to this, I'm going to let you hear the quote straight out of her own mouth. Hang on a second, I'm going to get this thing pulled up. Take a listen to this. This is from the press conference on the day she issued the order.
Yeah. But your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carrying license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency.
So, an emergency somehow is the exception to the rule that says that a government official can suspend constitutionally guaranteed liberties. Liberties which by the way are not ethereal or out there as some kind of pie in the sky theory. They're written down for everybody to be able to understand what they mean in plain English. And lest you think that I'm being a bit dramatic about that point, here's the Second Amendment. A well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't see anything in there about shall not be infringed except in case of emergency, which is exactly what this governor is trying to claim. She has such a crisis on her hands out in New Mexico that she's got to do something, and she is totally willing to suspend your and mine's guaranteed constitutional liberty in the name of solving her problem. Just let that sink in for a moment. Let it sink in that this politician, and I don't care if she's Democrat, I don't care if she's Republican, I don't care if she's Libertarian, I don't care what political persuasion she belongs to, she's trying to suspend our rights in the name of resolving her problem. But let's continue a little bit more with this statement to the press.
And I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are.
Wow. You know, I've known for a long time that politicians, regardless of their political party, are trying to slowly erode or take away individual liberty under the guise of making a better world or, for doing it for the children or making sure that you and I are safe. But I never thought I'd ever live to see the day that something this audacious would ever be attempted. Now, there is one more quote from this press conference I want to play, and a reporter actually did an act of journalism. Take a listen to this.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message. Yeah.
Then what's the point of doing all this? This goes to the heart of the problem with any kind of a gun control measure. The argument is always made, well, if we put strict gun control laws in, we can stop the criminals from using guns to commit violence. Folks, they're criminals. Do you really think if they're not gonna obey the current laws on the books, what makes you think having a gun control law limiting the law-abiding citizens' right to protect themselves, that somehow is gonna stop a criminal? She just flat out admitted the criminals are not gonna obey this order. So if they're not gonna obey the order, what's the point? Well, if you ask me, the point is taking away the right of citizens in the state of New Mexico, or more particularly the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, taking away their right to protect themselves under the Second Amendment. Now, I said she's getting all kinds of reaction, and boy, is she. And this is one of those moments when politics makes for very strange bedfellows. Take a look at this. Also from Breitbart, David Hogg blasts New Mexico governor's ban on concealed carry. Article written by A.W.R. Hawkins. Gun control activist David Hogg used a post on Twitter to slam New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's ban on carrying handguns in public in cities such as Albuquerque. Grisham issued her order Friday, September the 8th, and it went into effect the same day, Breitbart News reported. The ban applies to handguns carried openly or concealed in public, and the prohibition also bars concealed carry permit holders from carrying their guns for self-defense. Hogg reacted to the order with a Twitter post in which he said, quote, I support gun safety, but there is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution. Now, As a general rule of thumb, I have little to no use for David Hogg's political beliefs myself, but this is one of those moments where he and I are absolutely in total agreement. And unless you think the reaction stops with David Hogg, it goes a little bit further than that. Take a look at this. Here's a reaction from Ted Lieu, who's a sitting member of the United States Congress. Quote, I support gun safety laws. However, this order from the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. No state in the Union can suspend the federal Constitution. There is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the Constitution. And everybody is getting this one absolutely right. So that's reaction from public figures. What about the citizens in Albuquerque themselves? Well, let me show you a Twitter thread to give you an idea of the kind of reaction that the governor's getting. Take a look at this. This is on the Twitter page of Ford Fisher. Gun owners, many visibly armed, rallied in the Old Town Albuquerque today to openly defy New Mexico governor's executive order banning the open and concealed carry of firearms as there is a 1-month emergency. Police did not interfere or enforce the order. Take a look at this video, folks. These are people walking around, some of them carrying guns quite openly. They're not going to back down on this one. A little bit further into this thread, one speaker at the armed rally in Albuquerque defying the gun-carrying ban told the crowd that they need to go out and do this every day or else it wouldn't have an impact. While the police didn't enforce the order, it includes a $5,000 fine for violators. One apparent anti-gun protester was yelled at, but then invited by the speaker to say his piece on stage. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. The crowd yelled at him for wearing a mask and applauded him when he took it off. It's a pretty based crowd, in my opinion. He expressed concern about gun violence in schools, which the speaker and the crowd retorted by suggesting that arming veterans and well-trained teachers at schools would be a deterrent to active shooters. And reading a little bit further into this thread, here's the full report from N2S Reports video on today's armed rally in Albuquerque. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is safe to say that the governor has made an enormous mistake on any number of different fronts. Lay aside the blatant unconstitutionality of her action. She has awoken people who otherwise wouldn't pay attention to this issue to a stark and true reality, and that is this. Politicians will come up with almost any justification they can to take away individual liberty. She's doing it under the guise of a public health problem in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Don't be surprised if Democrats somewhere down the road try and use the same tactic somewhere else. And it wouldn't surprise me if Gavin Newsom tries to do this in California or Gretchen Whitmer tries to do it up in Michigan, among other places. Might even see J.D. Pritzker in Illinois take a crack at this. So keep your eyes open, folks. But in the meanwhile, this governor's blatantly unconstitutional action is being met with the force that it deserves. And it's my hope and prayer that the people of Albuquerque and the whole state of New Mexico get this thing overturned forthwith. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. Number two, please hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when new material is coming out. Number three, please leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. Number four, share the video around. And number five, please give me a thumbs up. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative, and I'll see you next time.